What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of CFP Talks, and I am really excited to show you and share with you what we have going on this week. Now, Raman and I talk a little bit about recall, your QBank, and the difference between knowing something and knowing what to do with it. And we talk about all kinds of cool stuff in this episode about it. Now, if you're the type of person that's going through CFP QBank questions and you're going, I know this stuff, but I can't get the right answer. I knew that, but I still can't get the right answer. I knew that, and I saw it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. I'm still not able to get the right answer. I'm missing something. What am I doing wrong? Today's episode is dedicated exclusively to that. We are going to break down the difference between knowing something and knowing what to do with it. Now, underneath this video, we have some special offers for you. Our QBank that we use with our class is right below this video. We have a 7-day money back guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason, feel free to let us know and we will refund you on the spot. It is a risk free investment for you. Now, if you want to sit down and chat with me, we're going to take 30 to 45 minutes and chat about a little bit about what you have going on, if it makes sense for you to work with us, if it makes sense for you to join one of our classes, and if you're an appropriate candidate. Now, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel and this video so we can continue bringing you videos just like this. And let's make your next attempt your last. What's up, Raman?
How you doing, man? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Take two on this video.
Take two on this video. Let's go. Let's go.
We were talking about this and we actually got into a great conversation when we were trying recording this last week. We got a little cut off for
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties, but I'm sure you experienced this a lot too. And I'm happy that we're actually getting a second time to talk about this. Um, and we typically experience this right after CFP, and it works out great because I had a conversation with somebody this morning where they've run through the Dalton Q Bank once in full, which is, I would assume somewhere around 2,000 questions, if
Hmm.
not. I know they have a lot of questions in there. Then they've run through it another half time. Okay, so 1.5 times through the Q Bank, which is a lot of questions.
3,000. Yeah.
Right? Took the exam in July, didn't pass, come back, do it again, do an exam readiness in July, get a 60 something, do it again, and not do as well. And they are sitting there kind of baffled, like, how could I study more, but no less? And, the thing that I heard this morning was, I feel like I know this stuff. I know this information. I
Hmm.
know it. But then I get lost on the details or these little parts, and I can't necessarily remember it as well as I thought I would know it. And you know, I know this stuff. I know it. I've seen it. But then when I go to answer a question, I can't quite pick the right answer. I'm bringing it down to two. I end up picking the wrong one. I miss a detail here. I miss something there. So, how is it possible that students could know the information but not get questions right?
Well, it's it it's all about being able to recall what you know, right? Like, I mean, think about it this way. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that people tend to know about the basics of it because they're like, oh, I've seen this before. I know it, right? And the reason you're unable to recall that is because you probably haven't spent enough time studying the material,
Hmm.
right? Because when you study stuff, when you look over it over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, you can actually recall that information. Like, I'll give you an example. I was telling this to a student recently about this whole conversation about recall. And I was telling her that I remember when I would like, growing up, middle school, high school, I would catch the metro bus to school. I can still tell you, Joe, the stop that I got on, the stop that I got off, it was Bissonnette and Gessner, and there was a fire station right next to it. Then I would cross the street, then get on the Bissonnette bus and keep going up, and then after a certain time, and the bus will drop me off right where the school was, and I'll just cross the street and get to the school. That's recall right there,
All right.
right? If the only reason I'm able to recall that is because of practice, doing it every single day for 4 years when I was from age 13 to like 17,
Hmm.
right? Knowing it is kind of like, oh, like it's kind of like when I went to New York this past weekend, and I tell my wife like, oh, I know this, but there's no way I could recall how to get there, right? Because I did it once, maybe twice.
Hmm.
So you see the difference right there, right? Knowing it versus being able to properly recalling it.
Yeah, and I think there is something really subtle going on that confuses or sullies the matter, and that is being familiar with something and knowing it.
Yeah.
If you can't recall it, you don't know it, right? And that's the reality of it. And knowing something well is different. And it's like saying, I've seen this person walking the hallways at work. I know who they are, but I don't know anything about them. So you don't really know them. You can recognize their face. And I feel like a lot of us are doing that. I see somebody at the gym all the time. I recognize their face. I don't know their name. I don't know where they live. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they do for work. I don't really know the person, but I'm familiar with their face. And that's the thing that I think ends up getting really confusing when you are preparing for CFP. If I see things in questions enough, I start to get familiar with that.
Hmm.
I know I've seen a question about this, but if I haven't done the digging into the question and into the material, I really don't know it. There are things that with accounting, right? And I haven't really taught accounting in years that I could still recall right off the top of my head. I can still do debits and credits. I haven't taught accounting in 3, 4 years because I've done it every which way. I've messed it up every which way. I've tried it 10,000 different ways. I know accounting. I can still do a cash flow statement in my sleep, not having done it in some time. That's different than me being familiar with an A trust.
Yeah.
I've seen this in questions before, and I think we tend to say it's familiar, therefore I know it. That's not the
Mm.
case. And to your point, knowing something is digging in, talking about it, reviewing it, messing it up, coming back, looking at it from a different angle, talking about it again, talking about it even more, figuring where does this one, and you start to learn all the different angles, right? And I'll give you another example. It's like, um, do you know what like the four Roman pastas? Like cacio e pepe and carbonara or whatever.
I
Okay.
know of it, but I can't recall it.
Right. Okay. So I decide that I'm gonna make this cacio e pepe recipe. I've seen it online so many times. I've watched 12 YouTube videos. I'm gonna do it. Right. And I'm like, I know. Diana asked me, she's like, you know how to make it? I was like, yeah, I can do it.
Of course.
Of course. Right. To tell you that I didn't know that a person could destroy a recipe so bad in their life because I couldn't remember which step went where
Mm.
or how hot. Like you're supposed to make this cream with Parmesan cheese and pasta water, and I put in searing hot water. It melted the cheese. The cream became string cheese. I tried
Oh.
to work it into the pot, and it just literally tasted like I had taken dirty water, put it on the pasta, and put pepper on it. And she's eating it. She's like, "It's good."
Like,
I was like, I took the plates and just threw it in the garbage. I was like, take one, not so good. But that's the point. I'm familiar with it. I've seen other people do it 100 times. I didn't know what to do. Although I felt like I should know what to do because I watched a video a couple times. I was familiar with the steps, but I've never done it. How do I learn how to do it? Well, I have to make the recipe two, three, four more times, figure out how to get that cream correct, when to put in the pepper, how to do this, what temperature, take this out, cool it off for a minute, take it off the heat and put it to the left. That's when you know a recipe.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, and I want you to clarify this for our audience. And let's just say I'm a student and I say, but I've been taking practice questions so many times.
Mm,
Should I not be familiar with the concept at that point?
it's a
Should
great
I
point.
not?
It's a great point. Are you getting the questions right?
Let's just say I got them wrong a couple of times and now I can get them right.
Okay. Well, why are you getting them right? Because you memorize the answer or you memorize the way that they're being asked? Because again, when we say recall, I don't want you to confuse this with I can it's not the flashcard version of recall. Although flashcards are very helpful in building recall. It's recalling the right things at the right time.
Hmm.
And that's the difference between being able to answer a question because again, if I can recall the right fact, well, I've seen the question before. I know what to do, right? And I think we all know this in practice. You go out to a meeting, right? And let's say like one of my first clients was a 401k plan. And I remember sitting down with a lot of the participants and having meetings, and a lot of the meetings were the same. I went to my next meeting, and it was not a 401k participant meeting. They had a lot of different questions, questions I didn't have the answer to, and it completely threw me off because I didn't know what I was doing. I knew it in this little bubble of an environment, but that doesn't make me a financial planner if the only place that I can operate is that one little bubble where I'm answering the same four questions over and over again. It's going to help me build my mastery. But the
Hmm.
second I'm taken out of that environment, can I apply what I did in that room to another room? That's the mastery that I'm
Mm.
looking for. And that's the mastery that a lot of us are missing is that question banks, as you know, build up a lot of false confidence. I'm
100%.
scoring a 75% my second time through the QBank. Is it really a 75%?
That's a very good point.
Right? Because again, I'm giving it to you. You know the trick of the question now. You know the problem solving steps. And not that that's not helpful, but can I go and make a decision on that 75%? And the answer is no. Because until I put something new in front of you and then you can recall the right thing at the right time, and I'm telling you, you need new questions that are going to help you figure that out. Because again, putting you in the same environment and now knowing what to do is good. That's great. But then can you apply it somewhere else?
Yeah. And that's when you start mastering the skill. That's when you truly know the material.
Correct.
For my for the November exam, I was working with the student, and he goes up to me and said, "Hey, I want to go over retirement questions and estate questions and insurance questions because that's my weakest subject. Can we go over that?" So he comes to the session. He goes, "Hey, so can we go over questions?" I'm like, "Yes." Tell me the difference between a money purchase plan and a target benefit plan. And he
Mhm.
goes, I thought we were going over a question. I'm like, yeah, there's your question. Explain it to me.
That's not what I was ready for
Yeah.
though.
He's like, but I want multiple. I'm like, no. I think multiple choice questions are making things easier for you. It's kind of like when you go to a client's meeting, are they going to ask you for like, hey, Raman, here's my situation. Here's option A, B, C, and D. Can you tell me what my, like, that's not how it works. Real life is not how it works. Real life is you look at the situation and you're like, okay, how do I diagnose this problem based on my knowledge base? And that's how you start recalling your stuff and knowing your stuff. And then multiple choice questions just become easy for you at that point.
Correct, correct. And that's a good point is that I always think that multiple choice is like doing it with the hint button,
Yeah,
right?
fair.
Because it's going to get you to where you need to go. It's remember, one of those four questions is right. And the second that you read those answers, you are no longer answering the question. You are trying to figure out which answer is best.
Yeah.
And you're no longer problem solving, you're trying to back into an answer. And you see this all the time. I just saw this in assessment, right? I said, I put a question in front of them. I said, calculate AGI. And this is something that I do with in a lot of my assessments. I give them a little case and I say, go and solve AGI. And everybody's sitting there going, well, fuck, do long-term capital gains get included? Are muni bonds in here? Okay. So, and then I ask the question, all right, you're in this type of situation. What do you do? Well, I do what I think is right. And then I start adding and subtracting things until I get to a number that's on A, B, C, or D.
Hmm.
Have you learned anything about AGI doing that?
No, I mean, you're just guessing at that point, I feel like.
You've learned absolutely jack shit in that
Yeah.
scenario, right? You haven't learned a thing. All you've done is answer that question. And here's where this gets worse. I answered that question right, Ramen, and now what do I think?
I know my stuff.
I know AGI. All right. So next time you see an AGI question, you're going, all right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff. And then you get a tougher AGI question, or you get a taxable income question, which now adds a whole nother layer of
Hmm.
deductions.
Hmm.
And then you're sitting there going, well, I don't remember which medical expenses are included. Does it exceed the 7.5%? Do I even remember that 7.5% exists? How much of state tax am I allowed to take? How much of interest? Now it becomes this mishmash. And now this is when you start getting overwhelmed and your level of stress goes through the roof
Yeah.
because you're going, oh my God, I don't know this as much as I did. I backed myself into an answer 100 times and I still don't really know the stuff.
And all that amount of time and effort that's being put into like answering these practice questions and accidentally getting them right and then building false confidence. If students are just to put that same amount of time actually studying the material repetitively, it's the same amount of time.
I It's like your friend at school who come up with the best cheat sheet.
The
They were
best
like,
cheat is
right, we got a mirror. The mirror reflects off the bottom of my shoe.
it's kind of like, dude, if you would have just spent the same amount of time just studying it.
Well, how long did it take you to put this cheat sheet together?
Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah.
How long did you study?
Joe,
Zero.
let me ask you something, and I think you'll have a better answer than I would. I know I've been doing, our class for about a year now, or it'll be actually 3 cycles now at this point.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
you're like you're no longer a rookie, baby.
I'm no longer a rookie at this point.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you was, what percentage of students do you think go back and retake our our Q banks and practice questions? Like even like more than twice. Let's just say more than once and then more than twice.
Well, based on statistics, the average amount that somebody goes through a Q bank is about 85%.
Once or you mean twice?
I mean, 85% meaning that they don't end up even finishing the
Finishing
whole
the whole
class.
Q bank.
Right.
Oh
So
wow.
that on average, we're about 85%.
So basically out of 10 people, eight and a half students are basically uh no, let me rephrase that. So basically what you're saying is that majority of students don't even end up completing the full Q bank. They just finish up
Correct.
to 85% of the Q bank.
Correct. Yeah. Which is kind of what we want. We don't want you finishing the Q bank. We want that element of surprise to stay in there.
Yeah.
I think, but our classes, on average, we have most people retake 3 tests.
Okay.
So, and that's different than people who are buying the QBank independently versus people who are in our classes. So, in general, we have most people, they'll come back and do a couple cumulatives over again. I want to go back and do cumulative 5, 7, 9, but we generally have most people take anywhere between 3 and 5 exams over, but no more than that.
Yeah. And and that's what I'm noticing is with our students in class versus people who are studying independently using whether it's Dalton, Danko, or especially Dalton and Kaplan because you could just recycle a lot of the questions. These people are so heavily focused on taking questions, right? Once again, all that time being spent answering questions, if they were to just spend that time studying their note cards, studying their notes, building their notes as they're studying, and then maybe do the Q bank once, maybe one and a half times, and I think they'll have a better success rate.
I think one thing that you always say in class that I always appreciate is, especially to our students who tend to move through a lot of questions and want to do a lot of questions. And we had somebody who was in our class in March or July. I can't remember which one they were in, but we had somebody who was in there that really was like gutting through questions, going through tons and tons of questions. And you were like, I would rather that you do half the questions that you're doing, but tear them apart.
Hmm.
Know why A the answer, know why B is wrong, know why
Yeah.
C is wrong, know why D is wrong. That way, when you see it again, you've actually dug into the question
Right.
and you've actually utilized the multiple choice in a novel way that isn't just next, next, next. And I see this especially, and FINRA students are more guilty of this than CFP students, but it's like they'll get a question right and they won't even read the explanation. Next, I got it right. I don't have to worry about it. Right.
Yeah.
I got right because we want to get it done. The shit it stinks. I'm uncomfortable. It makes me nervous. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be tested on this stuff. I don't like this. There's all of that emotional stuff that's going on. But the one thing that I really is like, take those questions and rip them apart.
Yeah.
Get really understand because I think if you understand why you got something right and why other things were wrong, the next time you see it, it's not a guarantee you'll get it right, but you'll be in a better position the next time that you see it. The next time you see it after that, you'll be in a better position from there. And eventually, whether that takes you 2 attempts or 3 attempts or 4 attempts, you're going to start to get most of those questions right.
Yeah.
There's always going to be 2 questions that you're going to see on a time. You're not even going to know where it comes from.
Whatever, right? Exactly. It's funny you say that. Whenever I have my one-on-ones with students, I'll be like looking at multiple choice questions with them, and then they'll say the answer is A. And my question to them is, okay, why? And then they'll explain it. I'll say, okay, good job. Then I'll say, tell me why B is incorrect, right? You know the answer is A. Tell me why B is incorrect. Sometimes I'll tell a student, okay, the answer is B. Explain to me why it's B. Then tell me why A is incorrect. Then tell me why C. Kind of like what we do in our class, like error analysis,
Mhm.
or that
Yeah.
tell me why is that class. Like it's just kind of like you have to be able to explain the why behind it, and that's when multiple choices you can use the true power of using multiple choices as a study tool. I'm
Hmm.
not a big fan of it, but if that's what you want to study with multiple choices, do it in a way where you can explain why the rationale of each answer choice is whether it's incorrect or why it's correct. When will C become correct?
Hmm.
Right? Okay, C is wrong. When will it become correct? Oh, if
Yes.
this word said this instead, that's when C will be a true statement. You see, like how now you're looking at multiple choices at a much different, angle at that point.
And it's much slower.
Slower, yes. Yeah, don't do 150, 100 questions. Okay, big deal. You did 100 questions a day. Like you say it yourself. The amount of time it'll take you to answer the questions, you need to spend the same amount of time reviewing those questions, basically.
Hmm. Yep. We
Right?
want
Say,
a 1-to-1 ratio.
yeah, one
That's
to one ratio. Right? Spend that time studying, okay, why did I get this right? I guessed it. I know I guessed it. Okay, I know I knew the answer because I've seen it. Or I even let's just say you see a question, you're like, I know the answer is A because I studied it.
right.
Fantastic. Can you explain why B was incorrect? And if you're like, I don't know how to, then you can't recall your information.
Well, and I'll tell you, here's the even bigger twist of it is you can spot it in this question, but if you're not reinforcing why it is, you're not necessarily helping yourself.
Yeah.
Because if A and C look close to each other, which they don't in this question,
Hmm.
A is very different than B, very different than C, very so it's an easy spot, right? For example, here's a retirement plan. Customer is looking for something that allows them to put in money every single year, non-mandatory profit sharing plan, defined benefit plan, money purchase plan, target benefit. All of those employer funded, all of those have required employer funding. It's so easy to pick that apart. Oh yeah, of course. Profit sharing plan. Only you have profits. It's not required. It's non-mandatory funding. It has to be substantial and reoccurring, but not mandatory. Okay, now I put profit sharing, and then I put a 401k profit sharing, and then I put a, simple IRA where now, okay, none of these necessarily have mandatory funding. Simple kind of does, but doesn't. But if I put four that don't have mandatory funding, and now you have to pick it apart based on the other details in the question.
Mm,
Again, I know now I know profit sharing plans. I'm checking it off, and a lot of us prematurely check it off because I got one or two questions right. It's
yeah,
not enough. It's not. You don't know it
yeah,
because you know one thing about it that you're familiar with, and you've created this word association of profit sharing, non-mandatory. Okay, good. But if I dig a layer deeper, you're going, oh, I thought I knew profit sharing, but I guess I don't. And now, panic button. I don't know anything
and that usually happens like
right now.
yeah, I was gonna say like 2, 3 weeks before the exam. Like I mean, students are like freaking out. I'm like, listen, like relax, gotta relax, you know. Um, no, I agree. I think what I would leave students with this is this: if you're about to take the CFP exam, the March exam, listen, don't waste your time just answering practice questions and get that, instant gratification out of it. It is instant gratification.
Hmm.
You need to mix up taking your questions, but keep it limited and spend time studying the material and be able to actively recall that information.
100%.
Right. And thing is, that's why, like, I mean, if you're studying in December right now, you got, or January, whatever, like December, January, February, and then exam is in March. And we kind of did another podcast. Remember how we did that timeline build? Like,
Yes.
hey, this is how, and that's how it should be. The first couple of months, spend the time recalling that information, studying that information, so you know that, okay, in coming in late January, early February, I need to be able to crank those questions out and be able to justify why the other answer choices are incorrect. Have a good solid study plan. If you're a retaker, you obviously followed your Dalton plan, your Danko plan, your Kaplan plan, your Zahn plan, and it didn't work.
Mm,
It didn't work for you, unfortunately. If it did, if it would have worked, then you wouldn't be sitting here retaking this test. So do something different, something that's, as I've learned the saying, eat the frog.
right.
No one wants to eat the frog. Eat the damn frog. Do what you know that you least like it.
I I love that. I love what you said because I think we all want action in our study plan, right? That's what makes me feel like I'm doing. So I'm doing flashcards. It feels boring. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything, right? And I think a lot of this process is embracing the boring and still doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's really glamorous about this process that it's like, oh my God, but we want action, right? It makes me feel I'm doing something. I think more of this process is embracing the boring and the mundane and the details and the intensity of that boring stuff. We want it to be all glamour and action and you're right, it is instant gratification. Here's the thing that I want to make sure is crystal clear. We are not saying multiple choice is bad. We are saying you have to learn how to use multiple choice correctly to actually translate into exam results.
Hmm.
You cannot use, remember, this is a screwdriver. A screwdriver screws in screws. It is not a hammer. It is not a nail. It is not what's another? I
A
don't
saw.
a saw. Thank you. Right. And so when we try to use those things, can I use a screwdriver as a hammer? Sure. But if you've ever used the back end of a screwdriver as a hammer and you use the hammer, you're like, wow, the hammer is way better for this.
Mhm.
Yeah, duh. It's going to take you 3, 4 times as long with the QBank to get the results that you're looking for because you're using the wrong tool. That's what we're saying. You
Yeah.
have to build it first, and then you have to use that tool only when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that's the key here. So we hope you guys found this episode helpful. In our next video, which is really, really cool, we're going to talk about should you be using videos? And this is something that Raman and I have been discussing. How do we integrate videos into our platform? Where is it appropriate? And so, what we want to give to you guys in our next video is how should you be using study videos and lectures in your actual study plan? When to use it, when not to use it, and when to call it quits on using videos completely. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.